Today, we're going to tell the story of a single number, a number that promised to tame risk, a number that Wall Street bet the farm on, and a number that ultimately brought the entire global financial system to its knees. This is the story of value at risk.
So let's start with a question that honestly should keep you up at night if you're the CEO of a major bank. How much money, how much can you possibly lose in just one single trading day? We're talking about the absolute worst-case scenario.
Now, you'd think that's an impossible question to answer, right? I mean, with trillions of dollars, countless trades, markets moving every nanosecond, it's pure chaos. But what if I told you that for years, the entire financial industry believed they had boiled all of that complexity down to just one single, elegant number?
And that brings us to the core of our story. One number to rule risk. Back in the late 80s, the folks at JP Morgan came up with something they hoped would be a universal language for risk, a way for the top brass to get a simple, daily snapshot of their entire firm's exposure. And that tool was value at risk. You'll hear people call it VaR.
So what is VaR, really? Well, the textbook definition is right there. It's a statistical measure of potential loss. But let's put that in plain English. It's supposed to answer a simple question. With a certain level of confidence, what's the most money I can stand to lose over the next day or week or whatever? It sounds like the perfect risk dashboard, doesn't it?
And here's why it got so popular. It's like a simple recipe with just 3 ingredients. So if a bank says, our one-day 99% VaR is $10 million, what they're really saying is, 1, the most we think we'll lose is $10 million. 2, that's over the next 24 hours. And 3, we're 99% sure that our losses won't be any worse than that. It's simple, it's clear, and as we'll see, it was dangerously seductive.
Okay, so 3 flavors of calculation. Because here's where things get a little messy. VaR isn't just one magic formula. It's more of an idea, and there are 3 main ways people try to calculate it. You can think of them as 3 different ways of trying to predict the future.
Now this table breaks it down perfectly. Each one of these methods has a potentially fatal flaw. First up, you've got the parametric method. It's the easy one, but it assumes markets behave in a nice, neat bell curve. Spoiler alert, they don't, especially during a crisis. Then there's the historical method. This one basically says the future's just going to be a remix of the past, which is fine, until something totally new happens that's never happened before. And finally, the big one, Monte Carlo. This is the supercomputer approach, running thousands of simulations. The problem? Your simulation is only as good as the assumptions you feed it. As they say, garbage in, garbage out.
And this is where our story takes a really dark turn. Because all of these methods, no matter how fancy they seemed, shared one massive, catastrophic, hidden blind spot. A flaw so deep it allowed risk to pile up, completely unseen, right in the heart of the financial system.
So here's the problem laid bare. Remember that 99% confidence level? VaR is great at telling you what might happen on 99 out of 100 days. But what about that one day, the other 1%? VaR tells you absolutely nothing about what happens when things go truly horribly wrong. It's like a weather forecast that says there's a 99% chance of a light drizzle, but it completely fails to mention that the other 1% is a Category 5 hurricane heading right for you.
And this isn't just theory. This is exactly what played out in the lead-up to the 2008 financial crisis. You see, from 2005 to 2007, markets were calm. So the VaR models, looking at that recent data, were spitting out incredibly low-risk numbers. That gave banks a false sense of security, the green light to take on insane amounts of leverage. And then, the crash. The models completely broke. Even worse, as markets got chaotic, the VaR numbers suddenly skyrocketed, triggering automatic sell-offs, which pushed the market down even further. It just poured gasoline on the fire.
And in the aftermath, well, people were looking for answers. And the Turner Review, one of the big post-crisis investigations, didn't pull any punches. They flat out called the financial world's reliance on VaR a terrible mistake. That one single number meant to control risk had actually helped cause the collapse.
But you know, out of the ashes of that failure, a new, smarter way of thinking had to emerge. Regulators, risk managers, everyone knew they needed something better. Something that would stare right into that scary 1% that VaR was designed to ignore.
And that something is called expected shortfall, or ES for short. Instead of ignoring the hurricane, expected shortfall looks right at it and asks a much smarter question. Okay, when we do get hit by that hurricane, what's the average damage we should expect? It's all about quantifying the pain of the absolute worst days.
So let's just put these two side by side to really see the difference. VaR just asks, where does the bad stuff start? It draws a line in the sand. Expected shortfall goes a step further. It asks, okay, once we cross that line and we're in the bad stuff, how bad is it really going to get? On average, it measures the size of the monster in the dark, and that forces the whole system to be safer.
So what's the big lesson here? For all of its epic failures, Value at Risk taught us something incredibly important. You simply cannot boil all the risk in the world down to a single magic number. The future isn't about finding a better number. It's about building an entire architecture of risk. Using tools like VaR to understand how often bad days happen, and tools like expected shortfall to understand how severe they can be. The goal isn't a simple answer anymore. It's about building a framework that's resilient enough to ask the right questions.